last week, Walmart said it would start raising some prices because of tariffs. Now, President Trump is lashing out, saying Walmart should, quote, eat the tariffs.
This morning, uncertainty about how much prices will go up at the country's largest retailer because of President Trump's tariffs. President Trump lashed out online, saying Walmart should stop trying to blame tariffs as the reason for raising prices.
Walmart just dropped a bombshell. 50,000 jobs cut, prices up, warehouses shutting down. And it all started with one explosive line from Trump: Walmart should eat the cost. That one sentence lit the fuse on a full-blown economic crisis. Tariffs are wrecking supply chains, groceries are vanishing, and families around the world are feeling the hit. This isn't speculation, it's already happening. From your shopping cart to Wall Street, the shockwaves are everywhere. And the worst part is that this may just be the beginning. It all started on April 2nd, 2025, when President Trump announced a sweeping new executive order, number 14,257. He called it the Liberation Day Tariffs. Overnight, nearly every import coming into the United States got hit with a 10% base tariff. Only Canada and Mexico were spared. And that was just the beginning. 4 days later, the second wave landed. Over 60 trade partners were slapped with even harsher tariffs. China got hit the hardest, 145% tariffs on most of its exports. Just imagine that. Prices instantly shot up behind the scenes, and companies like Walmart, America's largest retailer, started to panic. Then Trump added fuel to the fire by going on national television and saying Walmart should eat the cost.
Tonight, President Trump is warning Walmart against raising prices, telling the nation's biggest retailer and grocer to, quote, eat the tariffs.
That was the moment everything changed. It wasn't just political anymore, it was personal. Walmart was being told to swallow billions in losses or risk public backlash, and instead of backing down, the company pushed back. What followed was a chain reaction that hasn't stopped spreading since. Walmart didn't stay silent. Within days of Trump's "eat the cost" comment, they made their position clear. They weren't going to absorb billions in tariff penalties. Instead, they warned of massive price increases and braced for impact.
The CEO of America's largest bank warning of extraordinary complacency, saying that Trump's tariffs right now are extreme.
Behind closed doors, the numbers were brutal. Walmart projected a $25 billion loss for the second quarter alone. Then came the layoffs. Quietly at first, but quickly growing, 10 major distribution centers were shut down. Over 50,000 employees were affected. And for shoppers, the change was immediate. A pack of ground beef that used to cost $9 jumped to nearly $14. Cereal went up by $2. Even basic produce like lettuce saw a 30% hike. These weren't isolated spikes. Across the country, Walmart stores started raising prices shelf by shelf. Their entire low-price model was unraveling. And with every dollar added to a grocery bill, more families began to feel the pressure. The company was bleeding money, shoppers were angry, and Washington was fuming. But this was just the first visible crack in a much bigger collapse. Walmart's supply chain was once considered unstoppable. Their just-in-time delivery model kept costs low and inventory constantly moving. But tariffs threw a wrench into that system fast. The first signs of collapse started in the backrooms and warehouses. Freight partners saw contract prices skyrocket. Rates that used to be locked in for months were suddenly changing week by week. No one knew what to charge or expect anymore. Then came the shutdowns. 10 of Walmart's major distribution hubs went dark. That crippled logistics overnight. Shelves in stores went half empty. Orders were delayed. Some were canceled altogether. Small suppliers were hit the hardest. Huna Toy Factory in China, a Walmart partner for over 40 years, lost 70% of its contracts in just one quarter. American vendors weren't spared either. Many faced bankruptcy. Meanwhile, port cities like Los Angeles and Savannah turned chaotic. Containers piled up. Importers unable to afford the new tariffs simply abandoned their cargo. It looked like a retail version of a bank run, goods left to rot, and no one able to move them. Back home, the fallout was impossible to ignore. Walmart workers were among the first to feel it. Warehouse staff lost their overtime hours. Store associates were pushed into erratic split shifts, morning one day, closing the next. Summer hiring? Completely frozen. Thousands of seasonal workers, especially students and part-timers, were locked out of jobs they depended on. But it didn't stop at Walmart's payroll. Entire communities tied to its logistics economy felt the blow. Truck stops lost regular deliveries. Local restaurants near shuttered hubs saw their lunch rush disappear. Even school districts that relied on Walmart's bulk food programs were forced to cut back. Online, the panic spread just as fast. Viral videos showed half-stocked shelves. Hashtags like "You Empty Cart Nation" and "Tariff Crisis" started trending. People weren't just angry, they were scared. For decades, Walmart symbolized affordable, reliable goods. Now, even that felt shaky. Walmart knew it couldn't keep bleeding forever. As the crisis deepened, the company quietly rolled out its next move, a massive internal restructuring known as Project Triage. The memo leaked within days, confirming the permanent shutdown of 10 key distribution hubs. But there was more. Walmart was pivoting, fast. They launched the Maiden Heartland Initiative, a $5 billion push into domestic manufacturing. The focus? Building long-term sourcing partnerships across Arkansas, Ohio, and South Carolina. Walmart wanted to cut its dependence on unstable overseas supply and calm the political heat at home. At the same time, they doubled down on automation. Partnering with robotics firm Symbotic, Walmart began deploying Link 16, an AI-powered logistics platform across 400 fulfillment centers. The goal was clear: predict demand, reduce waste, and move products smarter, not just cheaper. And while all this was unfolding, the company quietly pulled back from China. In just one quarter, their Chinese sourcing dropped from 60% to 48%. That shift alone reshaped entire supplier networks. But even as Walmart tried to stabilize, new threats loomed. Vietnam, their next top sourcing country, was already facing the threat of new anti-dumping tariffs. There was no clean exit, just a race to adapt. Walmart's strategic pivot wasn't enough to stop the bleeding on Wall Street. Within 6 weeks, Walmart's stock dropped by 11%, wiping out $37 billion in market value. That loss rippled across the entire logistics and retail sector. ETF outflows topped $6 billion. FedEx, UPS, and J.B. Hunt all saw steep declines as investors scrambled to pull out of anything tied to freight. Shipping costs exploded. The average container rate on the Asia to U.S. route more than doubled, from $3,500 to $6,500. Some carriers even warned of further hikes. Meanwhile, warehouse space vanished. Everyone from big brands to small vendors began hoarding inventory, terrified of further disruptions. That led to a sudden surge in demand for bonded warehouse space. Rents quadrupled. Companies like Flex, a logistics startup, were overwhelmed, reporting a 6-fold spike in storage inquiries. Even Walmart's cold chain system, which kept fresh meat and produce moving worldwide, began to collapse. Beef aged out in storage. Groceries spoiled before ships could even leave port. Then came the financial blow. Walmart's $5 billion investment into supply chain modernization was quietly paused. Bond ratings were downgraded. The fear index surged. Analysts began using a word no one wanted to hear: recession. Right now, the political backlash is exploding in real time. Trump's response to Walmart's exit is anything but measured. He's calling it a betrayal, accusing the retail giant of siding with foreign interests and publicly threatening federal contract reviews for companies that relocate operations. His base is rallying behind him, but the business world is rattled. In Congress, the divide is stark. Senate Republicans are urging Trump to tone it down, warning that punishing major employers could trigger investor panic. Meanwhile, House Democrats are using this moment to double down on their warnings. They're calling the current mess a direct result of reckless trade policy, and they're demanding emergency action to stabilize food prices. International markets aren't sitting idle either. Canadian and Mexican officials are reportedly fast-tracking new regional trade pacts to shield themselves from future tariff shocks. Vietnam and India are adjusting export strategies in real time, shifting production lines to Europe and the Middle East to avoid further U.S. exposure. Trust in America's economic leadership is eroding, not gradually, but by the hour, and what happens next, only time will tell. Hit like and subscribe for more informative content. Thanks for watching.